Hello students, welcome back to my channel. So we are learning the chapter 8, which is function overloading and member functions. In the first two sessions of this chapter, we had learned about function overloading, different definitions and syntax and all those things we have learned. And the next two, which is the previous and this session, we are going to learn about different types of member functions, which are inline functions and friend functions. So inline function we have learned already. Today let us go ahead and see what is a friend function. Now a friend function is a non-member function that is a friend of a class. Now what do you understand by this? For you to understand exactly what it is, you should know what is a non-member function and what is a class. I hope class you all are aware by now because we have seen so many examples. Now what is a member and non-member function? So whenever you have a class, for example, I have this class where I am declaring some function. For example, function S, function A. Now these are called as a member functions. If at all there is another class, suppose D, if at all there is a function, for example, it is D, this is not a member function. This is called as a non-member function. Okay, why it is non-member function? Because this is not declared anywhere here. This is not declared, isn't it? So that is why it is a non-member function. But still, now we can use this function by doing it as our friend. Okay, like your friend, how we can make this member function as a friend and we can use it as a friend function. So this is nothing but a friend function is all about. So our friend function is a non-member function that is a friend of a class. The friend function is declared within a class with the prefix friend. Okay, so whenever you want to make a function which is not a member function, in order to make it as a friend inside your class, you will declare it as, suppose the same example let me take. I will declare this as friend and I'll say D. Now this becomes my friend function. Okay, next, it should be defined outside the class like normal function without the prefix friend. Now what is the meaning of this? Now like I said, the definition of this should be outside the class. So because it is a non-member function, of course the definition or the body of the program or the function, body of this particular function will be outside the class. Okay, so our class is here, our other definition of the functions will be here. Okay, so if at all, I hope you all remember by now, whenever a member function, if at all I am declaring it here, the definition will be, suppose this class name is A, I will define it as the return type, for example, void, the class name and scope resolution operator and then the function. Like this I am going to define it outside the class. But when it comes to friend function, we will define it like a normal function. We are not going to use any scope resolution operator, nor we are going to use the keyword friend. So we are not going to do that. This is going to be a simple definition. Only the difference is, for this particular function, if you want to make use of it as a friend function, then we will declare it inside the class using the keyword friend. That's all we are doing. But when we are writing the body of the function or when we are defining it, we are not going to use either scope resolution, neither scope resolution nor the friend function keyword, friend function keyword. And it can access public data members like non-member functions. Usually whenever we have a non-member functions which are not friend functions, even though they are not friend functions, non-member functions still can access the public data members of any class. Similarly, friend function will also have access to the public data members. Apart from that, they can even access actually the private and protected members of the class. Remember this, that is a difference between a friend function and a normal regular non-member function. Let us see the syntax of the friend function. So have a look here. We have class and then the class name. This is my class, this is the keyword and this is the name, which is user defined name. Then in the public I am going to declare. Now here two types of a declaration you can see. One is friend, Void is a return type of this function, and then I'm having some the parameter is also void, and this is the name of my friend function. Okay, similarly here I have my friend keyword. This is the friend keyword, both the places. This will let us know that these two are not the member function, they are the non-member function, but they are friend. Okay, and here I have my return type specifier. So this particular function is returning something, some value, and then my normal function name. Okay, and then the arguments. These two are same, only thing is that here understand this remains same, that is your friend, and then here this is void, but then here it is returning something. Here the name is given as function1, here the name is given as function name. Here there is no parameter, or it is nil or void, but here there are some arguments. So basically the syntax is nothing but, syntax of a friend function is, I have the friend keyword, then return type of the function, and then name of the function and the arguments in semicolon. That's all. Here we are not going to define it. Remember, we are not going to define it inside the class. It has to be always, definition always has to be outside the class. This is for friend function, right? Just like your friend will be living somewhere else, only he comes and visits. Similarly, the friend function cannot have the definitions inside the class. It is not allowed. It has to be outside the class. That is after this particular statement, once your class ends, right? Next, let us see one example and see how it works. So here in this example, I have a class name by the name base, and I have values. So remember, whenever I am not mentioning anything, this is nothing but these are my private variables, right? By default it is private, so this is private. In public I have void get data, this particular function which is defined inside. Now whether this is non-member or a member function, this is a member function. Remember, this is a member function because you don't see any friend keyword here, and also we are defining it inside the class. This is a member function of base class. Now here you see there is a keyword friend, which means this particular function is my friend function. So what is the name of this particular function? It is, now there is a small correction here. This ending statement has to be moved over here. Okay, I'm sorry for that. This particular end class has to be moved over here. Now outside the class definition, we are class declaration, what we are going to do is we are going to define our friend function. All right, so this is how a friend function declaration looks like in an example. Now a friend function, although not a member function, has full access right to the private and protected members of the class. Now this we discussed in the beginning itself when we were learning the features of a friend function. So though are non-member functions, whenever we have a non-member function, regular one which are not friend, can access the public data, right? Now when it comes to the friend function, the beauty is, though the friend function is also a non-member function, but it can access public. Apart from that, it also has the right to access the private and protected members. Okay, so this is a major difference between non-member and friend function. So a friend function cannot be called using the object of the class. It can be invoked like any normal function. So what is the meaning of this? So whenever I have a member function, for example, in our case, we had a class name called as base, isn't it? And then the member was get data. Inside that we had a function called as get data. Now if at all I have to call this particular function, how am I going to call? First I will create a object of the class, suppose b, and then I'm going to use the dot operator saying b dot get data, and then I will invoke this particular function. But when it comes to friend function, it cannot be called using the object of the class because it is not a part of the class, isn't it? So it can be invoked like normal function. So directly I can call the friend function. For example, the friend function name is f function, then I will directly call it like a normal function in the main program, and it is going to get invoked. right? So we are not going to use the object of the class in order to invoke it, because obviously it is not a member function of that particular class. That is a reason. Next, there are normal external functions that are given special access privileges. Like I said, it is a normal non-member function. Only we are made it as a friend to our class so that it can access our private and protected data members. It cannot access the member variables directly and must use an object name dot member name. So this is the way it is going to access the member or member variable. So what is the syntax for that? It has to use the object name dot member name. So one cannot access the member variable directly. It has to have a object name, and then we can call that particular member name. So this is how we are going to access any member. That is, the friend function is going to access any member. The function is declared with the keyword friend, but while defining friend function, it does not use either keyword friend or scope resolution operator. So this is what I discussed initially also, that whenever you are defining it outside, we are not going to use the keyword friend and also the scope resolution operator. Simply we are going to declare that particular function. For example, if it is a friend function, I am directly going to write friend function and then write the body of the program. I am not going to fix any prefix, be it scope resolution operator or keyword friend. Now keyword friend is used where? Only when I am declaring it inside the class. I am going to declare its name only. This is just for the compiler to know that this particular f function is friend to me and it has the right to access my data. Okay, so body of the program will not come within the class, only the declaration or the just the heading I am going to give it here within the class. And also I am not going to use a scope resolution operator. Why? Because scope resolution operator is only for the member functions only, and remember, our friend function is a non-member function. That is the reason I am not going to use the scope resolution operator as well. Now these are the few features or the uh, key points to remember when it comes to the friend function. One more example program here. So let us go through this. So here I have a class called as my class. Okay, the private data are int a and b. Public is void set val. Now this function, particular function, is my member function, and this one is not a member function. That is why it is declared as a friend. So this is my friend function here, and see the difference. Both the functions are defined outside the class. Though both the functions are defined outside the class, when it comes to the member function, it is being defined using a very important point, scope resolution operator. When it comes to the friend function, which is this one, it is being defined without any prefix. Okay, just like a normal function, it is being defined outside the class. So that is a difference here. So here clearly it indicates that it is a member function. Here it is not, but it is a friend to this particular class. Now see how it has been called. In the main class, I am creating an object called as my class. Okay, I'm creating an object of this particular class, and using that object I am calling the member function. Right now, when I am doing the cout operation here, I am saying directly, I am saying add of object. That is, I am directly sending this particular object as a parameter. But you can see that there are no prefixes, means I am not using any object dot operator here when I'm especially calling the friend function. So this is what we were talking about. Whenever we have to call a normal friend function, we will call it as a, usually how we call the normal function, wherein which when we are calling a member function, we have to use the object dot operator. One more thing you need to remember here, in the friend function, okay, the last point we discussed, whenever a friend function has to use the variables, in this case it is using the a and b variables. What is happening here? First it is creating a object of my class, okay, and then using that object, object dot operator, it is accessing the variables. So object dot a and object dot b. So it is mandatory for the friend function, if at all they want to access the any member data of the class to which they are friend, they have to use object dot operator. Without that, it is not possible for them to access the members, so that they know that which particular class member they are accessing. I hope this is clear. So the key point here is, you need to remember a friend function is a normal function which is always defined outside the class, but when during the declaration we are going to declare it with the friend keyword. Okay, and while defining it, we are not going to use any prefixes, that is neither scope resolution nor friend keyword. In the main function, whenever we are calling it like a normal function without any object. And in the body of the program, that is in the definition, if at all you want to access the members of the class, in that case we have to create an object, and then we will have to use a object dot operator, and then that particular member name, only then you will be allowed to access the variables. I hope this is clear to you all, right? So this is all about friend function, students. I hope this video has been helpful. Thank you for watching and keep learning.